Great. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Facebook Live. I'm James. I'm lead pastor of Life Church Lincoln. It's a great pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm feeling a little bit Scottish this morning, so I put on my favourite Royal Stewart tartan shirt. It's really great to be with you this Monday morning. I hope you're doing well. We're praying for you. Whoever you are, we're praying for you. We hope you're well. On the Facebook, if you're live on Facebook, why not put the name of a friend in the comments so they get a notification to watch. If you'd like someone to pray with you, or if you've got a praise report, please do comment. Also, if you want to later on, we have if it's something a little bit more personal, if you'd like to have a proper chat with someone, one of our pastors, please, or if you'd like to join a life group, please feel free to give us a call later. Our pastoral lines are open 12 till 2. We'll be putting the number in the comments shortly. The number's 01522 694 694, or you can email your contact details to office@life-church.co.uk. And we'd be really, really glad to help you, to have a chat with you. We're basically, what I'm saying is we're here for you this morning. So please don't sit there when you've got something on your mind, when you've got something you could really do with some prayer for, or whatever it is. Please don't just sit there. We would love to help you. We all need one another at times like this. And whoever you are, we may never have met you. You may live a long way from where we are, but we would love to help you. We're here to serve you this morning. We're here to serve you. We're here to help you. Just to remind us about a couple of things. We're back tomorrow for Streams of Hope. These are taking place every day, Monday to Saturday, and on Sundays we have a service online. But on Friday we're going to have another special thing on Friday, 8 p.m. on Facebook Live. We're going to have a special Q&A on parenting during lockdown. We're not going to try and say, oh, we'll give you all the answers and all the magic bullets that you need, but what we'll be doing is we'll be speaking to a number of people and allowing you to put in your questions just to let us know what you're thinking about and seeing the things that you could do with some answers to. So a panel of a few people who have at least got a reasonable idea of what they're talking about. So we're really looking forward to that. And that's going to be taking place on Friday, 8 p.m. on Facebook. So we're doing something different today. We're not going to do what we've, at least for the next few days, between now and the end of Thursday, we're not going to do what we've done up until now, where we've just kind of taken a different subject every day. What we're doing this morning is we're going to be sharing something different. We're going to be doing something different this week. And what we're going to be doing is like a mini series. We're going to be looking at Psalm 91 together, because Psalm 91 is a psalm that I think for a lot of people is their go-to psalm when they're in trouble. If you're in trouble, it says, whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. And it goes on to tell you all sorts of different things about what God will do to protect his people, protect the people who do dwell under his shadow. So I'm going to be spending some time in that today. Pete will be with you tomorrow, and we're going to be doing one or two other things before the end of the week. So please do stay tuned. Please do keep jumping online and joining us. It's great when you can join us live, but if you can't, these videos are uploaded afterwards. They're uploaded directly onto Facebook and YouTube. They're normally available within a few minutes of the end of the live streaming. So you'll be able to listen into them. Before I go on, I'm very aware that Boris Johnson this morning made a statement outside 10 Downing Street where he said he's announced he's returning to work. I think it's really great, and it's important that we should pray for our leaders. Wherever your political opinions lie, we must pray for these men, for these women who are making big decisions, who've got big weights on their shoulders, got the weight of our whole country on their shoulders, and at a difficult time as well. It's a bit like being in a wartime. It's like, oh my word, what on earth do we do to get things right? But there's one thing that he said that I just want to encourage you with that kind of leads into what I want to say. And this could kind of go for all areas of our lives and our faith and everything, our families and everything like that. But he said what we must do, we're kind of at the point where that we're at the maximum point, the point where there's no going back from here. And he's also said that we mustn't lose patience. And he said evidence is showing that we're beating the coronavirus. We're beating it. We're getting the better of it, which is really good. And he basically said to people, hold your nerve. And the moment that I heard him say that, I read on my phone what he'd said, and I just thought at this time we've kind of all doing it all the time, I guess, because we could so easily lose our rags. And I've kind of once or twice gone a little bit crazy during this time and just thought, what we know, when's it going to end, when we're going to be back in some semblance of normality, everything like that. But I want to encourage you this morning that we must keep going. We must keep going with this. It's just like I always say to people, you've got to keep trusting God. You've got to keep trusting God will break through into your life. We need to keep trusting. We need to keep staying safe. And I just want to encourage you, don't give up. Don't be worried. Don't be concerned. God's on this. He's working in it. Can I just encourage you, don't give up. Today, sometimes I've said before, sometimes I find Mondays after a great Sunday, I find Mondays a little bit, sometimes a little bit flat. But I really want to encourage you this morning, whoever you are, whatever state of mind you're in, just begin trusting God. And that leads into what I'm going to say this morning. So we're going to be taking a look between today and the end of Thursday, a look at Psalm 91. Psalm 91 in a way divides itself up into kind of two big parts, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking those over 4 days. So we'll be looking at about 4 days, 4 verses every day. And I'm going to look at the first 4 verses, Psalm 91, 1 to 4 today. I'm just going to read that to you now. And it says this: whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. If I say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely he will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his feathers. Under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and your rampart. It will be your shield and your rampart. That's from the NIV. If you read from another version, you'll get a slightly different take on what it is, but the sentiments will be the same. Psalm 91 has become a real favourite of people over history when since it was first written, when people are in trouble. And it's no different now that we're in this COVID-19 situation, that it's kind of a go-to psalm for many people, a bit of a go-to psalm. And what Psalm 91 really is, it's a glowing testimony of the security that can be had for those who trust in God. If you read Psalm 90 before that, Psalm 90 talks a lot about what goes on with people who basically have just a trust in themselves, their own ability to get themselves through situations, their own ability to almost save themselves. And it's kind of a really nice counterbalance or counterweight to Psalm 90. Psalm 91 and Psalm 90 is kind of, but sort of balances it back out again, back into saying, actually, those who, rather than trusting them in God, Psalm 90, if you trust in the Lord Almighty, Psalm 91, where will the odds be? In whose favour will those weights be? The psalm is divided really nicely into sort of 2 halves of 8 verses each. As I said, we're going to be looking over these next few days at 4 verses each day, 4, 8, 12, 16. It's got 16 verses in it. We're going to be looking at 4 each day, but it divides quite nicely into sort of 2 main themes, 2 halves of 8 verses. The first half is really talking about how people of God, the godly people in this world, in this life, can be, now you need to listen to our words carefully here, can be absolutely assured of security from specific threats. That's the first half of Psalm 91. The second half of Psalm 91 assures God's people of victory over various menacing beasts, and we'll get to them as we continue over the next few days, and we'll be looking at those between now and the end of Thursday. So just digging really briefly into what I want to do is kind of just help you understand and bring this scripture to life. Some of you may know exactly what I'm talking about here. For some of you, this may be really new stuff, and this is just stuff that I've studied out of this psalm. So I'm going to be taking the first 4 verses just over these next few minutes. Psalm 91 verse 1: whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. The 2 key words that you can pick out of that, it's all important, but 2 key words that you can pick out of that are the word shelter and the word dwell. Shelter and dwell. This psalm, it doesn't tell us in our Bibles exactly who wrote it, but it's thought that the person who wrote it was probably a priest or a Levite, so someone who was what you could call a member of the temple personnel. back in the time when there was the temple in Jerusalem, and those who it wasn't like in these days when we could go to church, not like the exact days we're in at the minute, but in normal circumstances where we can go to church once, sometimes more than twice a day, or even more than that in other days of the week. But it wasn't that often that people would go to the temple. So when the psalm that says, I was glad when I rejoiced when they said, let us go to the house of the Lord, that was because it wasn't a regular thing for people to be going to the temple at Jerusalem. But what this priest or Levite who was said to have written this psalm says is that those who dwell in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. And what you've got here, the word shelter really means the temple of God. And it says that Christians benefit when they're in the shelter of the temple, because there is a kind of a shadow of God that God then protects people with. I think in 21st century, say in 21st century UK, or whichever part of the world you might be tuned in from, if we've got people on who are watching from overseas, if you think about the modern day temple, so if you think about the church, there is, I believe, and I've seen this in my own life, I've seen it in the lives of countless people I've met, there is a biblical protection that comes for people, and this psalm demonstrates it. When you are part of a church, you have people who are praying for you, you have people, you are together with people, you're there under God's protection in a way that you couldn't be if you were by yourself. Yeah, you can still be a Christian, but you can't be, it's really my conviction, I don't want to make any apology for this, you can't be an effective Christian without being part of a church, without being part of a body. And my question would always be to people when they say, well, I don't really want to join one, I'd say, well, why wouldn't you want to be? Because there is a protection under the wings of God that comes when you submit yourself under the authority and the protection of the church, the protection of the temple. That's something that comes. So I really believe there are people who've been, and there was a great testimony from Karen Kendall Adams yesterday on the worship section of our service. We really said that she basically said that because people in the church would pray for me, my brother-in-law has been healed. Her brother-in-law, who was seriously sick, her brother-in-law has been healed. And that, for me, that's really, really incredible. So there's kind of a protection. The wings of God protect people. It's very similar to if you read Psalm 17 verse 8, it says this: keep me as the apple of your eye. The apple of your eye, that's the most important bit, the pupil, the bit that needs to be protected above absolutely everything else. It says, keep me as the apple of your eye, hide me in the shadow of your wings. Hide me in the shadow of your wings. So there is something about God that wants to protect his people, particularly when we're going through really difficult circumstances. But there's a kind of a protective shade of God that his wings and his temple and his people provide. But I just want to leave you with this thought, give you this thought before I move on to the next section. Dwelling, where you choose to dwell, is a choice. If you choose to dwell completely inside God's protection, then that's great. And there are promises in here that demonstrate it. But if you choose to dwell outside his protection, outside of the protection of God, then that's your choice as well. God gives people choices. Where you choose to dwell is key. Literally, just as me dwelling in this chair rather than a chair over there is my choice. Where you choose to dwell, where you choose to position yourself is key. So that's Psalm 91 verse 1. Psalm 91 verse 2 tells us, I will say the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. All I really want to say about this, and there's so much more that I could say this morning, so much more that I'm burning to say, but can't because of time restrictions. But this verse of the Psalm really says to us that due to the fact that this is who God is, I will say the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. This is kind of demonstrating that once we're under the protection of God, once we recognize where we are, we can and we should take refuge in him, and we should say, because Lord, we know that you're good, we know that you're working for our good, we know that we can rest assured that no matter what life throws at us, you're affording us protection. Psalm 91 verse 2. Psalm 91 verse 3 is a really interesting one, and it's quite commonly misunderstood. It says, surely he will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. What on earth does all of that mean? What on earth does all of that mean, you may well say? Well, a fowler's snare, what is a fowler's snare? Well, a fowler, start going slightly further back, a fowler is someone who would try to catch wild game. So you're talking about any kind of bird, just to try and would set a trap rather than shooting it out of the air. It would set a trap to try to catch it, so that it would get into the trap and would either die in the trap, or he could then, once it's trapped, kill it, and then he would be able to eat it for his dinner. Okay, that's what a fowler is, and a fowler snare is the trap that he would set. The reason that the psalmist says this, he will save you, surely he will save you from the fowler's snare, is really a metaphor for when we could potentially, as humans, find ourselves in a deadly trap or have a trap set for us. And he's saying, God, almost like if you're walking down the street and you could see a massive spider's web in front of you. I don't mean that, but a trap in your own life. Someone who might try to trap you with your words, someone who may, or something that may try to stop you in your tracks and do you harm. This is what it is. It will probably be talking mainly about human enemies. Spurgeon once said this. He references the hymn saying, Satan, the fowler who betrays unguarded souls 1,000 ways. Spurgeon said, Satan, the fowler who betrays unguarded souls 1,000 ways. That shows that we need our souls to be guarded by God and by one another. We need to have the protection of God and the protection of the church as well. It made me think immediately when I read that of John 10 verse 10, the thief, the devil, the enemy, only comes to steal, kill and destroy, but God has come to give you life and life to the full. He would absolutely love you to be set in the trap of a fowler's snare, or in the, as we come onto it, deadly pestilence, but God has come to give you life and life to the full, and that's why we need to serve him. When Psalm 91 verse 3 talks about deadly pestilence, what it's talking about is specifically talking about disease and things that can do us like that can do us real harm. And it says that God is there to be called upon, and this is really pertinent now, COVID-19. God is there to be called upon to ask for protection from all harm. Psalm 91 verse 4 says, he will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and your rampart. This kind of builds what on the verses that have gone before, but I really think particularly Psalm 91, there's so many examples of this kind of picture, or this kind of picture of God that is built up, where of God almost like a hen gathering her chicks under her wings to keep them safe. God wanting to gather his people to himself, to put them, to keep them safe, to put his wings out so that he can keep them safe, and to protect them against oppression, to give them shade for those who need it, shade from the heat of the day, heat of experiences, and it says there is a shadow and safety under his wings, under the wings of that almost like great and mighty eagle of God. It's a metaphor for the protective outreach of God's power. God has got such power. We often think of God just wanting to either show power or just to comfort. But I think this psalm is showing that God has got immense power, absolutely immense power. And what he wants to do is he wants to protect you. He wants to protect you because of his great power and his great love for you. I'm going to sort of come into land now, but I'm telling you this because this psalm is so true, so right, so correct about who God is, about who God really is. He's there to be trusted. He's there. He wants to protect you. And it's not like there's only a certain amount of God to go around. He wants to protect anyone who calls on his name. And I want to encourage you to trust him this morning. I'm just going to pray for you. Maybe we can just pray together. Come before God together. Father, thank you so much that you've given us this psalm so that we can know and have an assurance, Lord, of the fact that you want to protect us, you want to take care of us, you want to love us, you want to show us real care. And Lord, I pray for all your precious people, all those who are watching now, those who will watch later. And I pray for, Lord, for everyone who they're connected with, for friends, for families, Lord, that you will bless them and that you will look after them and that you will show them your love today. Lord, I pray that every single one of us will come under the protection of the shadow of your wings. And Father, may you bless every single person in Jesus' name. Amen. I pray today that that psalm will really come to life for you. I'm just going to, before I finish, I'm just going to read that bit of it to you again. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely he will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and your rampart. There's so much more I could say, but we'll leave it there. I was so delighted that you were able to be here today. I pray that you have a fantastic day, a wonderful day. Wherever you are, just please, I encourage you, I implore you, keep trusting God. Cast all your burdens on him. He cares for you, says that in 1 Peter 5 verse 7. Cast all your cares on him. He cares for you. He wants to take care of you. He wants to love you. He wants to show you his protection. Have a fantastic day. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. for Streams of Hope. We're going to be continuing this mini series on Psalm 91. Please read this psalm over yourselves, and I really hope and pray that it becomes a really helpful and true thing for you as we continue. God bless everyone. Have a fantastic rest of the day, and I will see you soon. Stay tuned to Facebook for updates and everything like that. And if you don't receive our weekly update email, please drop us an email. The email address will be in the comments. We'd love to get absolutely everybody who can be receiving that email so you can tell what we're doing as church. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for all your comments on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you so much. Be blessed. We love you. We're praying for you. Have a fantastic day. God bless.